before we bring on our esteemed guest, Troy, let's talk about some Fang stocks because this is a big week. This is a
Big
big
week.
earnings week. So what's the deal?
Yeah, we got obviously. If anybody was watching, Tesla obviously reported and beat its earnings. They had a net income of over 435 million in a quarter, which is a record-breaking quarter for them. I think an average of 92 cents, 93 cents per share. So Tesla is beats, and then tomorrow, and I can't even, I can't wait for Wednesday. We gonna do the earnings really quick. So tomorrow we got AMD, which we talked about, and we love, and obviously with the Intel news, every time they put out news, it always seems like they set themselves back or step on their own foot. And so if we're looking who's going to take the value in that space, we've already said AMD. We've said so many semiconductors, but AMD is going to be reporting. Microsoft, Ian, you know how we feel about that. We've spoken very highly about that. I believe we had that conversation early this morning. I was sitting here with Bam and Mike, and I'm like, remember last June when we told everybody we were going to do a 2:30 call on Microsoft, and they were like, "Are you sure?" And now Microsoft is sitting at what 62, 262 now, 263, somewhere around there. And so obviously they're reporting. Alphabet will be reporting tomorrow as well, and Visa. That's probably the only financial individual stock I have. And then Wednesday, the big boy, Apple, will be reporting. Facebook, Boeing, which you just spoke about, Ian. I'm glad you spoke about it, in Shopify. And then Thursday, that monster that we spoke about in our class, Amazon. And shout out to Francis. We went through the charts and kind of broke down and saw where the buy point was and saw where it had to hit before it went on the run. And he said he was waiting on it for an entire year. And so it was in consolidation. If you've been tracking Amazon, if you've looked at that chart, you've seen that it's been moving sideways for about 8 months. And so it hit its buy signal, and I was all over it. And so there are some rumors. Now, we said this last week. Now, we don't know how true they are, but there are some rumors that there could be a stock split. The rumor is now 4-1. And so that would be very interesting. So if anybody has shares of Amazon, great news. If anybody has calls, good news as well. So we'll be looking forward to that. And then McDonald's will be reporting as well. Neo, shout out to Shiggy. we had a whole conversation.
Shout out to Shiggy, that's my boy, man.
We had a whole conversation about how he invested in Neo, which is dope because he's new to investing. To hear that was one of his first investments, that's pretty cool. Twitter.
No, Neo wasn't Shiggy's investment.
Who was it?
Corday.
Shiggy had he was
Dogecoin.
Big on Doge. Yeah, Corday was Neo. Shout out to Corday, another young legend.
That's a
young legend. Twitter and Domino's. We spoke about Domino's. I don't know how many times on Market Mondays and how it's really a tech company disguised as a food company. So they're going to be reporting their earnings on Thursday as well. And so we're looking forward. This is like the best week of each quarter for me is when the FANG stocks get to report, because not only do they represent their own business, but those 5 companies represent about 10 to 12% of the NASDAQ. I believe it's the NASDAQ or something like that. Yeah. So always an exciting time.
Yeah, for sure. It's been it's going to be a big week. Today was a good day. It was green across the board, so that's always positive. Yeah. So let's hope that trend continues for the remainder of the week. And also, I wanted to talk about, if we can, crypto. So obviously, you guys know that we are bringing on a titan in the space, Mike Novogratz, which is Bitcoin billionaire, ex hedge fund manager. I'll give his whole resume later on when he comes on. But long story short, he's heavy in crypto. So I feel like, it's good to talk about crypto for a little bit before we go on. So, cryptos is heating up again. Bitcoin 53,000, Ethereum's 2,500. Anybody that watches Market Mondays knows that I'm invested in crypto, and I dollar cost average into crypto. I put some money into Bitcoin recently. I put some money into Ethereum recently, and I'm up on both of those positions. I've always held Bitcoin and Ethereum since 2017, but those are the only 2 that I actually have added to my position recently. But yeah, the crypto market is looking healthy. Coinbase, I believe its stock was up today as well. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was watching CNBC this morning, and something that interesting that came on where it was Bitcoin. The headline was Bitcoin banks look to power crypto economy. So you can't even watch CNBC. You can't watch any of these outlets anymore without hearing about crypto and Bitcoin and all of that stuff. So Yeah.
Yeah.
Good run right now.
Again, and we broke down the charts, especially when we talked about Bitcoin and people were asking, where should I get in? And when it was at 63,000, it was like, all right, it's run up, but it's going to pull back in it. So probably around like 4:00 yesterday, it got down to 47,000. And so
it fell. Yeah.
Right. So if you actually even put like a Bollinger Band on it, it would have showed you like, okay, this would have been a good time to get in right here. And so I know a lot of people caught it. Shout out to everybody that did. I got a few messages about that. Oh, I'm going in right now. I hit 47. So shout out to everybody that's been actually taking the information, applying the information, and executing on the information, because it can be very, very, it can work in your benefit. I'll say that.
If it gets to 42,000, my bad. Go ahead.
Now I was gonna say,
yeah, it can, and it's gonna give you a heart attack. But if it gets to 42,997, load the boat. I'll say that. Load the boat.
The boat signal has gone out.
Yep.
Yeah. Bitcoin buy and hold. One last thing before, a few different things. CRM.
Yes.
Oh, baby.
How do we feel about this situation?
You want to go first, Ian? And I'll tell.
CRM is Salesforce, for anybody that doesn't know.
They were one of the first ones last year that took off like crazy, and then once they got overextended, they fell down. I'm not betting against Benioff. He's not in the class of Bezos or Steve Jobs, but he's like in that B tier, kind of like how 1A or 1B, I should say, kind of like how Dame Lillard is. Benioff is the same way. I'm not betting against Salesforce. They'll be okay. They'll be okay. They're taking a little bit of time to recover. That's because a lot of the funds are not putting as much money into them as they once did, and there's so many more attractive assets to buy. But Salesforce would be great in about a year.
Yeah, I've been bullish on Salesforce since I think right after the acquisition of Slack. So that was like November, and like you said, I'm not going to bet against it. I know the technology. I know the fundamentals of the company. I believe in what they're bringing. And even if you have conversations, when you talk to people who are in business and you ask them about how they're operating business, CRM always comes up, right? They need that relationship, that peer relationship through the workforce. Yeah. And so that's not going anywhere. I believe in the technology. Like I said, I've been bullish on it since November. I'm not changing. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ian.
And they created the annual recurring revenue model, and Infusionsoft, Stripe, any of those kind of companies, they're the children of, as Nikki would say, those are my sons. They really founded the industry. So they have quite a few competitors, but on the business side, they are the A player.
We kind of spoke a little bit about it maybe a few weeks ago when we did how time was getting into the crypto space, and how people didn't even realize that Benioff is the owner of it. And so even those little sneaky things, like, all right, well, if that's the first step, what's the next step? You know what I'm saying? So he's pretty innovative. He's just one of those brash CEOs. So I'm bullish on it.
Did it on him? We just listened to that song.
That you just played that. No, I promise you, he just played that in the car the other night.
That's funny.
A fact. We just playing that in the car yesterday, 2 days ago.
Saturday.
That's crazy. Shout out to Nikki. Okay, one last question. This Amazon stock split rumor just came out of nowhere.
We talked about it.
We said it last week.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, relatively.
Yeah.
Nowhere. When I say nowhere, like within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But Amazon stock had never split before, to my knowledge. So how likely is this of happening? And Ian, let me get your take on why, for people that may not be familiar, why a stock actually splits. I think this is some good education, because the last time something like this happened of notoriety was Apple, and we might have new listeners since then.
Yeah.
So,
Apple, Tesla.
Why does a stock split usually?
In this case, because the price is too high. So I'm looking at it now. I think Amazon is at $3,409. Average consumer cannot buy it. And then also it's been throttled because the high is $35.52. So there isn't much upside for them to what's the target going to be? 4,000. Most people can't buy it. So if they split, they do a 7-1 or 10-1, it'll go down to $34.09. More people will be able to buy it. So not only will they get a bunch of Prime boxes sent to their door, they'll start to be able to buy the shares because it's more affordable. But I know Bezos, he was not a huge fan of that. But with him being chairman now and then now having another CEO, I think it's a 50-50 probability that they will split, but I'm going to do a hot take and say that they will in less than 2 years or less than 18 months.
You think it can get as high as 10-1?
I'll say 7-1 to be safe because I don't want to get killed on the interwebs. You're like, oh, you said 10-1. I'll say 7-1.
7-1 would be good. That would be beautiful as well.
Yeah.